Welcome to the You Don't Know What You Don't Know podcast by Innovative Business Advisors. Successful business owners who have started, grown, and led businesses share their journey and direction for the benefit of those traveling the same path.
So today we're talking with Tiffany Hoeckelman, who's the business owner and founder of Lone Orange, located in Union, Missouri. And Lone Orange has got the mission of helping solopreneurs scale their business beyond themselves. Welcome, Tiffany. It's a delight to have you with us today. So tell me about the moment you decided to get into business.
Oh, that was an interesting story. I literally had a light shining from heaven on me, I think, with the moment that I decided to go into business. I never had any desire. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. But I was literally sitting at my desk after a couple of years in my last job and needing to get out, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And in this moment, when the light shone from heaven, I picked up a brochure that had been sitting on my desk for 3 months, never really paid attention to it. And it was for a virtual assistant company. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can do that. And that was when I knew that I was going to start off as a virtual assistant and has evolved into what we do today. And that is literally my life goal.
Wow. And that, 12 years ago, virtual assistant was virtually unheard of.
Very much. And which is why I probably never heard of it. But somebody had given me that brochure. And I guess it tells you how often I cleaned off my desk. But I literally, I just saw it there. And I really feel like there was just kind of a moment where I was like, okay, this is the new path. And it's amazing to see how that path has evolved ever since then.
Okay, so you started as a virtual assistant then. You walked down that path and you started as a virtual assistant, and that eventually led into Lone Orange. So talk to us a little bit about, what did you learn and how did you use that experience to become your own business owner and then to begin to help others?
Yes. So the real quick is I had my degree was in graphic design, but never did any of that work professionally. Ended up for 13 years in nonprofit work where, guess what? I was running a small business and I had to be very resourceful because we didn't have the funds to go hire things. So I learned how to run a small business, even though I didn't know that's what I was doing. And then when I decided to go out on my own, I was able to pull all of that knowledge into running the VA business. But when I was a VA, when I went into business, I said, I don't want employees. I didn't want people in my business because I had had such a bad experience managing people prior to that. Mm-hmm. And I hated it. And so I thought, I just want to be able to stay focused, do my work, serve my clients, make tons of money doing it. And about a year in, two things happened. The first thing was I realized I wasn't waking up loving what I was doing. And two, I got hit with a trademark infringement issue lawsuit. Oh. Yeah. So I was being forced to change my name. And again, like another just kind of a divine moment, if you will, I would never have made the leap. I had to change my name and I had to figure out who I was going to be. So that's when I went back to my roots as a graphic designer and decided to help all these small businesses that I was helping as a virtual assistant who I saw were undermining their amazingness because of the way they were presenting themselves visually. I was, networking with people who were handing out homemade business cards or homemade brochures, and they were amazing. But then they were handing out these things that kind of made them look kind of ho-hum or patchwork, and not worth the money that they were charging. Mm-hmm. So that's where the birth of Lone Orange came from, having had that year of experience and realizing what people really needed and that I could help them in that area, and kind of being pushed off the ledge by the trademark lawsuit.
Yeah, I assume you got a cease and desist letter, right? And those are always a little startling.
A year in, I felt like my baby was being ripped from my arms because, I put everything into this. But 12 years later, I came back so grateful for that because it never would have happened otherwise.
There is a divine purpose to these things. So share with us a little bit about Lone Orange. What an interesting name. How did that come about?
So Lone Orange became because I was facing this lawsuit that I had to come up with a new name that I wanted to trademark. Okay. And so I had to get super creative, and that was really difficult. It took me about 9 months to finally find a name. But where this came from is I used to live in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I had an orange tree in my backyard that only ever produced one orange every year. Don't know why. I fertilized it, I watered it, did all the things, but it kind of became this running joke in my family. We're going to create this international orange juice conglomerate where we were going to, however that was going to happen. So then when I needed a name for my company, we were throwing out all kinds of names, and somehow Lone Orange came up, and I thought, well, that kind of works, because then the logo kind of has the Lone Ranger mask. And so I was serving solopreneurs. I was a solopreneur, and it's been a really fun brand to develop, and people love it. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you were, 12 years ago, you were really on the cutting edge of the future thought process. Here we are now. Virtual assistants has become relatively mainstream, and we talk to business owners all the time when they say, well, we can't get people, right? We can't. The number one issue right now is we can't get people to come to work for us, right? And our question is always, well, have you explored the virtual world out there? Because it seems like you can, unless you need somebody there to stand there and push the buttons or pull the levers or drive the vehicle or whatever the case may be, almost everything else in your business can be done virtually.
100%. Even when I switched into Lone Orange, which I turned into more of a branding agency, and I was really doing the graphic design side of things for people, logos, websites, that sort of thing. I was on a mission. I still wanted to stay work at home, but I recognized that I had a capacity issue. I could only do so much, and I only had so much time. And at that point, I was newly married, and my marriage was struggling because I was putting so much time into this business. And so that's when I realized that I was going to have to grow a team and start hiring people. So that's why I just started to grow my team. And where the idea of Lone Orange came from is that I wanted to grow a virtual branding agency. And I remember talking to two distinct people who said, oh yeah, I tried that once. It didn't work. Good luck. And I thought, oh, and there's part of me that went, well, fine, I'm going to show you. And so that's what I've done. And so pre-COVID, it was very hard people didn't understand it. People didn't understand how you could work virtually and manage a team virtually and get people to do what you wanted to do. And so I was determined to figure out how to do that. And that's what I've done. So that's now what I help solopreneurs. So I can still consider myself a solopreneur, where I have a team of other business owners, essentially, other contractors, virtual assistants, graphic designers, web people that I bring in for my clients as they need it. I still don't have employees. I never intend to have employees. Like, I like this model where I can bring in the people when I need it, and they can do the work and do an amazing job. And then I can vet them and use them as necessary. So that's what I've created, this virtual branding agency. And I think very successfully. I've been able to take nice long vacations and completely unplug while the business runs on its own. And that's not something that solopreneurs are used to being able to do. So that's what Lone Orange is doing now, actually, is helping solopreneurs. We still do the branding side of it, but then we help solopreneurs be able to figure out how to grow themselves beyond themselves, so they can have a team. They have the systems. They're still delivering powerful things for their clients, powerful transformations, but they can do it without them having to do it all, because that's what we're used to doing.
So it sounds like you're giving us a glimpse into really what makes your business special and different. So elaborate on that a little bit, because virtual assistants have become a little bit more mainstream, but you're still pretty unique. So tell us a little bit more about your uniqueness in your business.
Sure. I think what our secret sauce is yes, we're a branding agency. And so we focus on I've gotten really good at pulling out of solopreneurs who they are, because solopreneurs are so inextricably linked from our businesses that when you start talking branding and what their messaging is, it gets very muddled with all the thoughts in our brains, right? So helping solopreneurs really figure out who they are, what they stand for, what those core values are, what their company personality is, how they want to communicate that. And then, so we've got the creative culture and identity side, but then I match that with my love of systems, which is not usually a joint thing. That the creative,
right. Typically, if you have one, side, you're missing the other, right?
Yes, exactly. And I love both of them. And I feel like they become the foundation of every solopreneur's business, because the branding figures out your culture so that you're attracting the right kind of clients, but you're also attracting the right kind of team members. You know who you are, and you're confident you can speak about who you are. And then you can deliver an amazing client experience because you have the systems in place. You can delegate those systems, and they're being delivered on, they're delivering on your brand the way you intend them to be. So it's not there's so many blocks for solopreneurs when we think, okay, it's time to hire someone. Well, now I've got to manage somebody. What a headache. Now they're going to do things not the way I want them done. My clients aren't going to like to work with them. There's so many blocks where we think that things are going to just fall apart if we start bringing new people in. And by getting clear on that brand identity and that culture, and then getting clear on your systems and getting those documented, then you've got the foundation where now you can scale beyond yourself, get that team, start serving more people, start making more money, all the good things that scaling brings for you.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've got a pretty well-defined process to do that. Can you speak to us for just a minute or two about what is the process you take owners through to help them discover those things and get the results that you've described?
Because as a system, I definitely have a system. and it started probably about 10 years ago with helping people figure out their branding, and has just evolved into this, what I call the scale your brand method. Okay. And it starts with, we spend the first good chunk of it on that branding, figuring, again, pulling it out of you. What's your company personality? What's your why? What do you stand for? What are all those brand stories? What brought you to where you are? What are your core values? And then we get into who's your ideal client. And when I talk ideal client, I talk about who are the people you can best help, who are the people who you like working with, not just the people who are going to pay you, but the people you like working with, and the people who are going to pay you what you're worth. So if you can find those people because they align with your identity and your culture, and you know how to talk to them because you know your identity and your culture, then you're attracting the right kind of people. Then we go into defining your client journey. So really, from the moment that they hear from your name to the moment that they leave the planet, let's say, that what is that whole journey, and what do they need from you? Mm-hmm. Because they need something from you differently from when they are first introduced to you, to the sales point, to now that you're serving them as a client, now you're done with them, but you're still keeping in touch with them. So they need something different from you. And very rarely do we think about what that need is and how we can best serve them at every stage of that point, every stage of their journey. And then we develop the systems, and we really dig in to figure out what those systems are that you need to develop, what's the right order to do them in, and then how are you going to deliver that client journey so that the client experience is amazing and powerful and predictable. And you're not chasing yourself or chasing your tail, trying to remember everything. Everything's just done because you know exactly the order it needs to be done in, you know who's doing it. And now you can start bringing in team members to start delivering that. And the business just flourishes from there. You get to take time off. You get to have me time that you didn't have before. And it really is an amazing process to watch clients be able to go through all of that and now be able to scale and hit those goals that they've been setting for themselves.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We talk to business owners all the time, every day, all day, generally, and their number one thing is having time. Right? We call them the chief everything officers because they feel like they got to be doing everything in their mm-hmm. business, mm-hmm. and it's how do you have time? And part of that comes from trust. And part of that is putting systems and processes and the right talents at play so that you can trust that it gets done the way you want it done.
Precisely. Yeah. You're speaking my language.
Yeah. Wow. Obviously, you've got something that does make you guys quite different from any other quote branding agencies. I want to remove that because I'm not sure that's really what you guys do. You do a lot more than that.
It has blossomed into a lot more than that for sure.
No doubt. You got more than one orange on the tree. I can see that for sure.
Right. Exactly. Juggling a few.
So our podcast here, we talk with with owners, and it's always fascinating the journey that they've been on. So your business has been around 12 years, right? So most businesses don't make it past the first couple of years. Very, very few make them beyond 5. And here you are 12 years later. So share with us what are the things that you're most proud of over that business journey so far? Because, and I'm sure it might have changed a little bit from when you first started to where you are today. So elaborate on this for us, if you will.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. So yeah, I think my proudest thing is that I am still here 12 years later.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is.
You've put the odds in your favor and you've made it work for
right,
you now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and because I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs, I never really had that even in my thought process that was a thing. Like I came from the family who you'd work for a company for 30 years, you'd earn up your retirement and you go retire and be happy. That's kind of what I thought my life would be like. And obviously it wasn't, but now I could never go back. Like the idea, just being able to have the freedom and the flexibility to do what I love and to make changes quickly. That's why I love being a solopreneur, because I can be nimble. I can decide, you know what, that's not the way I want to go. We're going to go this way. And I can do that without a huge change plan. And so I think that nimbleness to be able to change with what needs to happen for my clients and where I feel led. And so I feel like the last 12 years have all led me to this point where now I can serve solopreneurs powerfully with both, we'll do your branding for you, but with also really helping them build the strong foundation to grow their business beyond themselves. Because that was something that I didn't have. And I had to figure it out on my own. I kept looking for people to help me how to do systems, how to do all of this. And I couldn't find it. So I had to figure it out on my own. So I want to make sure to pave the way for solopreneurs and make that a lot simpler for them. So I think that's what I'm most proud of right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you've got a system that you can just duplicate over and over and over again and continue to grow it at will. It's funny. It sounds like what I heard you say is you've kind of made the journey from, entrepreneurship begins as really indentured servitude, right? We spend every waking hour in our business. And now you've got confidence and freedom in your own business. And thus you're teaching other business owners how to achieve that same thing.
Yes, exactly.
What are some of the challenges you faced over the course of what's the biggest challenge? Do you have a biggest challenge or a biggest failure, the thing that you don't like to talk about, but maybe you got the biggest lesson from?
I think my biggest challenge and probably one of the biggest successes is that whole trademark issue that I had in the beginning.
Yeah.
I actually did my due diligence when I first started and picked my name, but it turned out that this company filed for their trademark the very same month that I chose my name.
Wow.
So there was nothing that I could have done differently to avoid this. So as difficult as that was, being able to not just go, well, I guess that didn't work, let me go back and find a job somewhere, but that I fought through it, that I figured out the next direction for me. And actually the following year I won the SBA Home-Based Business of the Year award. And that's when thank you. And that's when I knew that I was on the right track, because other people were recognizing what I was doing. And even though I remember filling out the application, I was like, Lone Orange was still very new. And I was like, I think this is what I'm going to do. And so it still felt very unsettled for me, but when other people recognized that this was important and that I was helping solopreneurs like this, that was obviously. And I feel like just being able to stay true to myself and stay true to figuring out what solopreneurs would help the most. Even embracing the ideal client of solopreneurs. I have been told many times that they're, usually too young, they don't have the money, whatever, but that's where my heart is. So in the last couple of years, I've decided, nope, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm serving. I'm going to figure it out. I would say those are some of my biggest proud moments.
Yeah, those are huge lessons, right? Those are huge lessons. And that's, that once you overcome that and get to the point where you can make it on your own and then really figure out where your gift is and how you can expand that, that's that's where we see businesses really do begin to flourish, right? And a lot of business owners don't make it that far. So
Yeah, it's hard.
um,
It's hard to power through some of those difficult moments, and those, the self-doubt is real. It comes in waves, and you think you're doing great, and then, oh man, is this really what I'm going to do? So being able to power through that, and having people surrounding you who can cheer you on, and it's that resiliency and that grit is a huge
makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. So a quick question. You also mentioned you won the SBA home business of the year.
Mhm.
And have you relied on SBA tools to help you throughout your business growth?
I actually have not. So I feel bad saying that. No, I actually haven't. Um, I hadn't needed it at that point, and so no, I haven't. Not really.
Okay. All right, cool. I was curious about that.
Yeah.
I'm a big supporter of the stuff that they've got available, and their award ceremony every year. I spent a little bit of time volunteering in during SBA week to kind of
Cool.
endorse some of that stuff. So I'm happy to hear that. I mean, it's a cool thing, and there is
It
a lot
is.
of really good resources out there for business owners that basically are free of charge, but it's kind of a well-kept secret. They gotta kind of tap into that on their own and figure that out.
Right.
But
For sure. There's there's a lot of classes and all kinds of great resources. You're 100% right. Yeah. If it's the right fit. Absolutely makes sense.
so you're on the cutting edge of stuff today. You've got a thriving practice. You're helping lots of business owners. You've been doing this for a long time. You got freedom in your life. You control your own life now. You control your business. You can take time off and not worry about your business whenever you want. You have what I call the freedom of time, which is seems to take the longest to grasp. Right after
Mm,
you get some freedom of money, then that freedom of time seems to take forever.
right.
What are some of the things in the current environment that you're facing now? I mean, this pandemic has changed things a little bit for everybody. How
Mhm.
has it affected your business? Are there any real challenges, or have you had to learn new skills that you didn't have before? Share with us a little bit about what your experience has been.
Sure. What's interesting is because we were virtual even prior to COVID, I
Hmm.
don't think it impacted us quite as drastically as other people. I would, yes, definitely slow down a little bit. But we were already working virtually with all of our clients.
Hmm.
And I actually am grateful because now, like I used to love networking on Zoom. Because I live in Union, which is a good drive from St. Louis, and anywhere networking. Like I always like to meet on Zoom, and people resisted that. So now I'm grateful because now everybody knows Zoom. It's comfortable on Zoom. So that's a lot easier. So from a business standpoint, other than slowing down a little bit, it didn't affect us too much. What it did do is gave me, because we were slow, a little bit slower, it gave me some time to really focus on developing the Scale Your Brand method into a digital course, and developing a group coaching program. So it actually gave me the time and space to focus on that side of the business and grow that even more. So I'm actually kind of grateful for that time. It's been really helpful for us. And now we can kind of go full bore with both sides of the business.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
That is awesome. That's that is the amazing thing. It's fascinating. I keep going back to this conversation I had with a gentleman that's a neighbor here that owns one of the Chick-fil-A franchises in the marketplace, and he almost blew me out of my chair when he said that they are debating whether they will ever reopen their dining rooms, right? And they got to be so successful through drive-throughs through the pandemic
Mhm.
that they had their best years ever during that period
Yeah.
of time. And it what amazed me is that every other fast serve restaurant owner wasn't camped out on the curb watching them operate to figure it out, right?
So
Because
true.
we had so
So
many
true.
businesses that just struggled, and these guys thrived. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm hearing from you. You had some slow time, so
Yeah.
you figured out how to create some new products in the digital marketplace, which
Mhm.
enable your business to continue to thrive.
Mhm. Yeah. And support more people and honestly grow in what, I have a new vision for how we're really going to grow. And we've created a community now for solopreneurs and a mastermind for solopreneurs that were never really on my radar prior to this. So just having that ability, that creative time to be able to grow has been super beneficial.
And I think you're probably doing the right things in the right time. People are becoming much more comfortable with, doing things virtually like this,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And how many, so many more solopreneurs that are coming into the marketplace and they need the support desperately because, whether they were laid off or they're just bored with employment or whatever they're seeing that virtual work is a thing. They need the guidance. And so that's what I want to be able to provide. I want to be able to jump in where I was 12 years ago and help them know how to navigate these waters and know that they don't have to be alone. Just because we're solopreneurs and we're running our business by ourselves doesn't mean that we have to be alone to do it.
So true. So true. I think I'm going to attribute this to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, although it may have came from the Small Business Administration, but I understand that 2021 was among the most active year for new business formations in the history of the U.S.
Yes. Yes. I've heard that too. Yeah. And it makes sense because so many people were displaced and they're like, well, I got to do something. And so many of them may go back to employment, but many of them will find that freedom and recognize that it can work. And they need a place to have a sounding board and get some advice about how to navigate business as a solo business owner.
What's the biggest challenges that you see your customers dealing with?
Honestly, their own heads. And I'm one of them.
Yeah. Speak more into that.
Well, because when you're a solopreneur, you don't have a board necessarily. You don't have the VPs, you don't have the C-suite, you don't have other people that you're really building something with. It's all up here. And so you have all the voices in your head telling you about why you're not good enough or telling why that's a bad idea or doubting if that's going to be the right thing. And so it can get and you have the voices saying, I can do this, I can do it all. And so there's a lot of competition. And maybe this is just my head, but so we can talk ourselves out of a lot of things. That doubt of, I think this will resonate, but will it really resonate? So I honestly think I've had a lot of clients who come to me saying, yes, I want what you're offering. I want the systems. I want the identity clear because I can't figure out who I am. I can't figure out how to talk about myself because I have so many ideas running around in my head. I have one client who was in business for probably 10 plus years and was still struggling with how to talk about herself and what her identity was. And she wanted to grow and she wanted to start hiring team members in, but she struggled with, how do I let this go? Like, people are hiring me for me. How do I let these things go? And that's all the things that I struggled with too. So I really feel like for solopreneurs, making that leap from, I do it all myself, I know how it gets done, I know how I want it done, I'm going to keep all the balls in the air and hopefully not drop any, to, okay, I'm dropping them now. I need to start hiring people, getting out of their own way and letting other people come in and help them and make their lives better, but doing it smart, not just jumping in and, well, I'm just going to hire my neighbor's niece to do my VA work. Hiring smart and hiring well to match your company so that you can use them to grow your business.
Wow. Yeah. So true. And it's, what's fascinating is every Monday morning, and we're together here on a Monday afternoon. Every Monday morning, I collect a couple of quotes and I add them to my little quote sheet that I keep in play. And one of the ones I collected this morning said, have you realized that most of your unhappiness in life is due to the fact that you are listening to yourself instead of talking to yourself? Take those thoughts that come to you the moment you wake up in the morning. You haven't originated them, but they bring back the problems of yesterday. Somebody's talking. Who is talking to you? Don't let the thoughts in your head dominate. And I thought, wow, that is so true, right?
It is. It is. Amen. In fact, I was listening to a podcast this morning that was talking about just that. Taking those thoughts when you first wake up in the morning, and what's the quality of those thoughts? Are they bringing you down, or are they lifting you up?
Yeah.
And how do you reframe that so that you can take your brain as a powerful tool and make things happen?
Yeah, that's what hit me like a ton of bricks this morning. Instead of listening to what's going on in your head, talk to yourself, tell
Yeah.
yourself what you need to hear, what you need to do, what you need to
Yes.
get to the next place.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Powerful.
fascinating. So, Tiffany, you're a very young woman. You've got 12 years of success. You got a long runway ahead of you. What's your vision for the business as you move into the future?
That is such an interesting question. Don't I don't have a vision for the end. I have a vision for maybe the next 10 years where I can kind of work my way out of working so much. I have the vision of having a 4-day work week and that sort of thing.
More time.
And do it.
More time, huh?
Yes, exactly. So like I do have a vision, and maybe I could see selling the community when I build the community, the solopreneur community up more. I could see maybe having that to sell, but it's interesting. I've never really thought of having something to sell, but several years ago, I got the advice, always build your business as if you're going to sell it. No matter what. That way you're building in those systems. That way you're building in the metrics. That way you're building in all the proper structures to have a strong business. So I'm doing that, but I don't necessarily know what that end day will look like. But maybe you need to help me figure that out.
Well, the one thing I think we had chatted about before, one thing we know for sure is that 100% of business owners are going to leave their business at some point in the future, right?
Very true.
And studies have shown that less than 5 out of 100 will ever plan for that day. So, beginning to think about it, I think, is the start of that. But, so I want to touch on 6 different things and talk to you about that as we go into this. So when you think about your business moving forward, I love the fact that you had somebody had shared with you, always think about building your business to sell, right? So the underscore of that is building value in your business so that you have something that will be attractive to somebody else, right?
Right.
And generally that's made up of 6 components. So first is financials, so you've got I always say the valuation is the cornerstone of the financials are the cornerstone of your business value, if you will. And there are a couple of different measurements there, but in simple terms, thinking about always generating positive trends in your business, positive growth trends and positive margin trends, right? We find most business owners focus on growth. They think in terms of sales and profits, but you really should think about gross profits and cash flow in your business, and those should be continuing to increase over time. So as you look back, and you think about your business, does it look like a sawtooth? Do you have up and down years over and over, or are you on a smooth, growth trajectory, right? So that's kind of the one element of value that tends to be the things people look at first. So second would be future potential. You are blessed with a business that's got plenty of runway ahead of it, as we talked about, right? And can you ever envision a time where your services are not needed?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it can't be, it can't be turned into some machine function. It's always going to need to have that human intuition to help, right? And get out of solopreneurs, as you talked about, getting out their identity and helping them figure it out, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. No machine's ever going to take away your opportunity, are they?
No. And just being able to have a community. So, and that's one of the big things that I'm building now. So yeah, those both make sense.
Yeah. Another thing is your business model. Do you two aspects of that? One is one thing you've done that's so far ahead of the curve. Most companies are really trying to figure out how to bring that in today. First off, being virtual, right? You're not tied to a particular geography, and thus your horizons are open to being able to get the best talents anywhere around the globe at any time of the day or night, right? That's a huge capability that most people are just beginning to think about and haven't even grasped it yet. They're just beginning to get awareness of it. Right. And the second part of that is recurring revenue, right? Being able to look at customers as, a lifetime type of customers. And, for a business like yours, kind of like ours, it might be that we help them, develop a program, right, and then put them on their way. But the recurring part of it becomes they're so happy with it that they tell everybody else that they know as business owners. And so the referral chain becomes this kind of recurring revenue that is insured because we did such a great job of building value up front.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
I have, absolutely. And I think, it's interesting. I've only really started marketing in the last couple of years. Prior to that, it was all done through my own networking and word of mouth. So I have absolutely seen the importance of that. And that's why I talk about client journey so much, because you've got to be intentional about how you're serving your clients, so they do come out the other end as a raving fan and not a disgruntled, a disgruntled client. So yeah, that's super powerful.
Yeah. Next factor is customer satisfaction. So when you think of customer satisfaction, what does that mean to you, and how do you measure that in your business?
That's a very good question. So customer satisfaction, that's a very good question. I do ask, not as consistently as I want to, and ask for testimonials and that sort of thing. But I guess being able to have I go after the anecdotal, what people really found from my services, and how that's been beneficial. And then the fact that they're referring people.
Yeah. The referral is a big part of that, right? And it's getting to where it's somewhat easier to measure with social media, right? So you can see kind of the social proof if your likes and followers and things like that are actually growing. That may not translate directly into how much revenue you're taking in, but if your customers are sharing your message and other people are seeing it out there and following you along, that eventual follow may turn into a client, right? It may eventually come into some revenue. So, we've looked at this a lot. There are things like net promoter score and some objective measurements, but typically solopreneurs and small businesses don't use a lot of those things. They're more for larger type of companies. But I think there is going to be proven to be some correlation between what is the growth of your outreach as measured through your social channel and email messages that you may be sending out and things of that nature, because you can definitely see businesses that aren't generating that. You can see they kind of struggle over time. So it is it's kind of a way to infer customer satisfaction, if you will, for companies that don't have a specific program in that regard.
Interesting.
Another key thing when it comes to the value of the company is your uniqueness, right? Some people talk about building a moat around your business, making yourself so unique and different, what I call different and better than your competition, that it's very difficult for others to be able to knock you off as a company, if you will. So, we think of a lot of the big brands, getting knocked off over time, and they dilute the marketplace, right? So what is your level of uniqueness? You've got a whole 12 meeting process that you take people through, right? You've got for a brand company, you've got a lot of uniqueness.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I don't need to know any branding company who does the systems. I don't know any systems company who does the branding. And to me, they can't exist without the other. You got to be able to have both of them.
Well, you've figured out what that magic key is that ties them both together, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's that client journey and being able to take that and really deliver on that. Use your operations to deliver on your brand identity. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Another aspect of business value is, and this is in many regards a subtractor, not a multiplier, but it's your dependency on key employees, your dependency on key suppliers, and your dependency on key customers. Typically, businesses that have a dependency, that will detract from their value. It won't add to their value. So that doesn't sound like something you would have to worry about in your business.
It's interesting. There's a couple of places where I probably could bolster that a little bit, but certainly because I don't have employees and I'm using all contractors, it allows me to diversify my reliance on my vendors, for sure. And customers, is there kind of a good gauge for when a customer is too much of your revenue? Sort of like a percentage?
Definitely, it depends a little bit by industry, but we tend to think in terms of, as a general rule, if a customer is, and again, this is going to be a little bit dependent by industry, but between 10 and 25% of your revenues, then you're beginning to develop a customer dependency issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and for some types of businesses, it's kind of a unique business where that's not a problem. But sometimes if you're a distributor, for example, of a specific brand, you might have customer dependence in that regard. However, you've got a protection. You've got some exclusivity around your distribution sometimes that'll kind of be the offsetting part of that. But yeah, if you've got a wider base of customers, you're spreading your revenue out over a wider base. So the inadvertent or if you choose not to work with somebody, right? The hardest thing for business owners to learn is to fire customers that don't ideally match them, right?
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes if you got to learn to fire a customer and it happens to be your biggest customer, boy, it can really cause you to step back.
Yeah, that's painful.
It is, yeah.
In the long run, it's wonderful, but yeah, in the short term, it's certainly painful.
Couldn't agree more. So great question. Yeah, and for you, your key employees might be somewhat of your dependency, but you've also got this unique strength that you have in that you're not constrained to time or location. So
right.
you can always find a comparable skill set or potentially upgrade that skill set as you go out and invest the time to look around, right?
Right. And we've developed even a whole process to vet and train people very quickly. So that without it's all virtual. So I don't have to do it. So even, in fact, I had one of my team members who just got sick. And so she wasn't gonna be able to work for a little while. So I was able to go find somebody and get them in very quickly because of the processes we have in place. Yeah. It was so powerful to see that. And we actually hadn't hired since 2016. So to be able to kind of dust that process off and be able to use it very quickly was pretty gratifying to know that it works.
Oh, I'll bet. I'll bet. See, there's part of your uniqueness again. What a competitive advantage that is.
Yeah, for sure.
So the final thing that we talk about is the thing that you and I spoke about several times here, what we call the chief everything officer, right? If the owner is the hub, and for solopreneurs, it's, by nature, they are the hub of the business. But if they can outsource more and more of the business function so that the business doesn't require them to be there to make every decision, to make everything happen, to get that freedom of time that you've talked about and that you aspire to get more of in the future.
Right.
That's a key thing that can make your business very attractive. If you get your business to where you can have the freedom of time to be able to come and go as you want, and the business still continues to go on and on, that does nothing but build the value up of your business. So those are kind of the pillars that we see and we talk about with our clients a lot.
Those are awesome. That's very helpful.
Well, and it sounds like you're well on your way in many of those areas. So, it's, every business is a bit of an ATM, right? It's a money machine that kicks out
Mm-hmm.
money for its owner.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them require a heck of a lot more maintenance than others, but
Right.
if you can get that machine to be finely tuned and producing very, very well with the least amount of input from you as the owner, now you've got the ultimate, the ultimate scenario, right?
Yes.
What a lot of people think in terms of mailbox money. So, if
Mm-hmm.
you've got that kind of thing going, you're building, no matter what your business is, you're building a huge amount of value that a lot of folks will want to take advantage of. So it's a cool place to be
That's
in
exciting.
when
Yeah.
when you need to take time off, either for to help a family member or something else, or
Mm-hmm.
whether you want to take time off and just
Mm-hmm.
go do some other stuff for a while. It puts you in a position where you've got lots of options.
Right. Which is ideal. And that's not what I saw when I first started my business. I had no idea that was possible. So it's exciting to see that possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got an amazing business. So how can people learn more about your business?
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. So my website is loneorange.com. So it's LONE, like the Lone Ranger, orange, like the fruit.com. We also have a free Facebook community that I'd love for people to come join us. It's a solo collaborative community. And you can find that from my Facebook page, Lone Orange. And those are probably the places I hang out the most.
Well, fantastic. Well, we'll put those links in the show notes. And
Great.
I am just honored, Tiffany, that you would make the time to come and talk with us and our audience out there. It's what you're doing is fantastic work. We wish you all the best, and we'll look forward to seeing you at some of our upcoming meetings.
Sounds good. It has been my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Steve.
Oh, the pleasure's been all ours, Tiffany. Thank you. We'll go out and make it a great day, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the You Don't Know What You Don't Know podcast. We invite you to visit www.youdon'tknowwhatyoudon'tknow.com and sign up to receive updates on upcoming episodes. You can also let us know if you'd like to be a guest or recommend a business owner to be interviewed. Find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, where you can like, follow, share, and join our efforts. Thanks for listening. We hope you join us again.